While Doctor Zhivago from 1965 is not always the number one choice for critics, who often point to Citizen Kane or David Lean's other masterpiece, Lawrence of Arabia, it is frequently cited by audiences as the greatest epic romance of all time. If you argue it is the greatest film ever made, you are likely responding to its unique ability to balance the massive weight of history with the fragile intimacy of the human heart. Here is why Doctor Zhivago earns that title. Most historical epics focus on battles, generals, and maps. Doctor Zhivago focuses on how history crushes the individual. Director David Lean mastered the technique of setting tiny, intimate moments against massive, overpowering backdrops. The most famous example is the love affair between Yuri and Lara, which feels quiet and personal, even as the Bolshevik Revolution and World War I tear the world apart around them. The film argues that the personal life is dead, as one Bolshevik character claims, but then spends 3 hours proving that the personal life is actually the only thing that matters. It champions the human soul over political ideology. Cinematographer Freddie Young and David Lean created a visual language that serves as a character in itself. The film is not just photographed, it is painted with light and color. The sequence at Vatikino, where the interior of the house is frozen into a crystal palace, is one of the most hauntingly beautiful sets in cinema history. Fun fact, the ice was actually made of hot wax and marble dust because filming took place in a warm Spanish summer. The film uses nature to mark time and emotion. The yellow daffodils of spring representing hope, and the endless white snow representing the suffocating isolation of the Soviet regime. Maurice Jarre's score is not just background music, it is the emotional engine of the film. The balalaika-driven melody became so famous it transcended the movie to become a pop culture phenomenon. It captures the specific Russian soul the film tries to convey: melancholy, longing, and endurance. Because the film spans many years and complex politics, the music does the heavy lifting of reminding the audience of the enduring love between the characters, even when they are separated by war. Critics often complain that the film is historically simplified, or that Omar Sharif, an Egyptian, doesn't look Russian. However, supporters argue that this adds to the film's greatness. The film is not trying to be a textbook. It is a memory or a fable. It portrays Russia not as it exactly was, but as it felt to those who lost it. A vanished world of poetry and aristocracy swept away by the brutal machinery of the future. David Lean was a master editor. He used match cuts and sound bridges, like the sound of a train whistle bleeding into a scream, or the wind, to make the 3-hour runtime feel like a cohesive, fluid dream, rather than a series of choppy scenes. Unlike typical Hollywood romances where love conquers all, Doctor Zhivago is a tragedy. Yuri and Lara do not end up together. They are separated not by a villain, but by the indifferent current of history. The ending, where Yuri sees Lara from a tram years later but dies of a heart attack before he can reach her, is devastatingly real. It denies the audience a happy ending, making the love story feel more precious and fragile. Doctor Zhivago is a contender for the greatest film because it is the ultimate example of cinema as emotion. It uses every tool available: sweeping 70mm landscapes, a haunting score, and tragic acting to make the viewer feel the loss of a time and place. It is a movie that you don't just watch, you inhabit.